Ikudha hoye! Mbaito muyaseo inge muyaine moseo na mavinda onde muyaia taiwe. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Hebu mnisalimie hewani hivyo watu wa Ikudha na watu wa hapa Kitui South.
Watu ulipwa kwa kazi yao. Si nyinyi ndio mnapiga kura? Si nyinyi wapigaji kura? Sasa wakati ikifika wa kupiga kura, which is 2027, nyinyi mtaangalia scorecard. Si mnajua scorecard? Nasema huyu alifanya namna hii. Mnasikia? Hata hiyo ingiza hapo. Utaangalia scorecard na ukimark, ukisema huyo mtu amepata 80%, mwingine 50%, utachukua gani? Utachukua gani? Chaguo ni lenu. Asanteni sana.
Ya mwisho ni kuwauliza wabunge wetu, jameni, nchi yetu haiwezi kuendelea kama hatutafuti rasilimali ya kutosha. Kwa hivyo hiyo infrastructure fund mutupitishie so that we can increase the number of roads in Kenya by 10,000 kilometers, tuongeze 10,000 megawatts ya electricity na tuongeze 50 mega dams, ndio tuwe na chakula ya kutosha for putting a new 2.5 million acres under irrigation. Tuendelee tusiendelee? Rais Ruto ni fire si fire? Ni noma si noma? Na huyo Recho ni fire si fire? Ni fire si fire? Arambe!
Sasa imekuwa jioni. Sasa na nyinyi sasa mbona hamjanialika kitu? Sasa mnakaa tu, mimi nakaa tu hapo, ama hata msemi kuja tujui tukule nyama mahali fulani sijui. Ati mimi ndio niwaalike? Haya, wacha nitajipanga. Nitawaalika. Otherwise imekuwa jioni. Na nyinyi watu wa Kitui mnasemaje? Ati mnasemaje? Ati Kitui mnasemaje? Mungu awabariki sana na wapenda. Thank you. Karibu sana. Unaitwa nani? Okumu. Wana Okumu hapa. Very good. Yes, Chairman. Habari yako? Uko salama? Very good. Hello. Madam, how are you? Yako? Asante sana. Yes, habari. How are you? Very good. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Umeona hiyo affordable housing ya Bunyula? Yes. Coming out very nice. Very nice.
The Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, cognizant of the rising unemployment among the youth, has signed off various bilateral labor agreements that has resulted in the employment of over 430 Kenyans abroad since 2023. We are being very careful here. Mark the dates, because we don't want a story going out there saying that they say they have employed 430 in 1 year. We are being very, very specific since 2023. So this is a cumulative figure. As well as access to thousands of digital jobs through the Ajira ecosystem. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, Kenyans abroad sent home 651.7 billion Kenya shillings in 2024, marking an 18% increase of 98.4 billion compared to 543.3 billion received in 2023, which is a significant contribution to the economy. From the meeting that I've just come from at the Kenya School of Government, this figure has actually now hit 1 trillion. Kenyans in the diaspora have, as at November 2025, now hit the 1 trillion mark. That is a very, very significant amount of money, which is critical to helping keep our currency strong.
Our compatriots, Oyo and Jagi, were apprehended by the military police of the Republic of Uganda. To the best of our knowledge, they have been returned, and they are certainly in good health. It is my belief that President Museveni was speaking metaphorically, rather than to suggest that there was anything that was done in the manner in which he described it. And therefore, until and unless we are able to get further information with respect to their treatment, at this point in time, I think we can say that we are very pleased that our compatriots are back. It took a long time for them to return by virtue of the fact that they were being held not by the police but by the military intelligence of the Republic of Uganda on the basis of their own law of subversion. And therefore, it became challenging for us to be able to engage within the shortest time possible, but we did our best, and we are very happy that they're back with us.
The crime of human trafficking for forced criminality has taken various forms, including online scamming, illegal cryptocurrency trade, forced labor, slavery, harvesting of human organs, money laundering, and sexual exploitation, among other crimes. These crimes, in addition to illegal drug production and trafficking, as well as trafficking in wildlife products, presents a serious threat to not only the national security of Kenya, but global security as well. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, human trafficking has become one of the world's largest criminal enterprises, generating over $50 billion annually in profits for traffickers. The saddest thing is that it is spiraling out of control as more victims are trafficked from Africa to as far as South America and Europe. The victims are attracted to the fake job adverts that are purported to be in the Asian continent. How do these criminal networks work? They have been placing online adverts on Facebook, Instagram, Signal, X, YouTube, among others, advertising various job opportunities ranging from receptionists, sales jobs, cryptocurrency traders, cooks, drivers, public relations officers, translators, factory workers, among other manual jobs. Once Kenyan applicants apply for the job, they are quickly interviewed and offered the job. The victims have been swindled to travel on tourist visas, procure one-way tickets, and book for non-existent hotel reservations. Since July 2022, reports indicate that many young Kenyans have fallen victim. And you can see the platforms they use, so they know who their targets are. The situation is so dire that our missions are constantly rescuing citizens who manage to reach the missions in bad shape. There may be many out there waiting to be rescued. We appeal to Kenyans to undertake due diligence at all times. To mitigate this, the government further continues to encourage all Kenyans seeking employment opportunities abroad to do so through agencies that have been vetted by the Ministry of Labor, through the National Employment Agency, NEA, and of course, the Department of Diaspora. The National Employment Agency is tasked with regulating and accrediting recruitment agencies, as well as ensuring compliance with ethical recruitment standards, conducting pre-departure training, and safeguarding the welfare of workers and accountability in cases of abuse and repatriation. On the issue of repatriation, the government has to date rescued and repatriated over 500 victims since 2022. Further, the relevant government agencies have investigated and delisted close to 600 rogue foreign and also local job agency recruiters, 600. This is not enough, as discussions are ongoing for a proposal to publicly list these agencies that exploit the vulnerability of our people, basically to name and shame. Kenya's Foreign Policy Mashinani Initiative. Last month, our ministry launched the Kenya Foreign Policy Mashinani Initiative in Kisumu County from 13th to 15th October 2025, bringing together representatives from all 6 Nyanza counties. This initiative, themed Kenya Foreign Policy Mashinani, Together Advancing Kenya's Interests in a Changing World, is aimed at deepening citizen awareness and engagement on Kenya's foreign policy priorities and their linkage to national development. Later, before the year ends, there is a similar engagement being planned for the coast counties. And I think we hope that they'll gain momentum. As you are aware, we have had situations where some of the policies at county level have caused a lot of distress, not just for investments there, but having an impact on our international obligations. So this idea of talking to them and highlighting this is crucial so that we are on the same page. Since the start of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine in 2022, recruitment exercises in Russia have reportedly expanded to include African nationals, including Kenyans. And I'm sure you have also seen that quite a number of other countries have suffered the same fate. The ministry has continued to receive inquiries from families regarding relatives allegedly involved in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Reports suggest that over 200 Kenyans may have joined this adventure or misadventure, with some of them being former members of Kenya's disciplined services. It is estimated that recruitment networks are still active in both Kenya and Russia. The Kenyan embassy in Moscow has reported injuries among nationals and others stranded after attempting recruitment into the war efforts. As you may be aware, on 24th September this year, a multi-agency security team raid was conducted in Athi River, where 21 Kenyans were found housed, awaiting processing to the war zone. One agent was arrested for coordinating the processing of Kenyan recruits under the guise of overseas jobs. The agent is presently in court for luring unsuspecting Kenyans to fight in the war. Intelligence sources indicate that victims are reportedly signing contracts with unscrupulous agencies with promises of payment of up to $18,000 for visas, travel, and accommodation. It sounds very attractive. You can be lured. But that is where the catch is. Unfortunately, those who have been rescued have said they were misled about the nature of the work they were to do, including assembling drones, handling chemicals, and painting works without proper training or protective gear. These are worrying concerns for us, and we must be able to tell you to guard our brothers and sisters against being exploited. Kenya enjoys favorable trade relations with its neighbors within the East African community, with the trade balance between Kenya and Tanzania, as well as with Uganda, being positive. A case in point, as at 2024, is that the value of Kenya exports to Uganda were valued at Kenya shillings 125 billion, while imports to Uganda were valued at 36 billion Kenya shillings. While for the Tanzania, as at 2024, the value of Kenya exports to Tanzania stood at 65 billion Kenya shillings and imports at 57 billion Kenya shillings. The trend of trade with the East African community over the last 5 years indicates continued export growth and a growing trade surplus in favor of Kenya. In 2024, total exports to the East African community was estimated at 321.4 billion Kenya shillings, a 103% increase from 158.3 billion worth of exports recorded in 2020. During that period, the trade surplus has widened from 102.1 billion in 2020 to 217.6 billion in 2024, an increase of 113%. As appreciated above, Kenya and Uganda continue to enjoy cordial and steadfast relations. Uganda is Kenya's largest export destination, accounting for 11.3% of total exports in 2024. the two countries will hold the 14th session of the Joint Border Commission and the second Joint Technical Commission later this month in Kampala and Mbale. On the now resolved missing Kenyan activists in Uganda, I would like to inform the country that the ministry closely monitored the case of the two missing Kenyans, Mr. Bob Njagi and Mr. Nicholas Oyo, who disappeared on 1st October 2025. High-level diplomatic engagements between Kenya and Uganda eventually led to the release on Friday. They have since been reunited with their families. When I say high level, I mean really high level. President Ruto was engaging with his counterpart on this matter. Kenya-Tanzania relations. Following Tanzania's general election on 29 October 2025, tensions arose due to the perception of foreign interference by non-state actors from Kenya and other countries, presumably. Kenya recognizes President Samia Suluhu Hassan's administration and remains committed to cooperation under the East African Community Framework. Meanwhile, the Kenyan High Commission in Dar es Salaam continues to provide consular support, including visa amnesty requests and repatriation of affected citizens. I'd like to update Kenyans on the status of our citizens in Tanzania. Eight Kenyans arrested in different police stations across Tanzania have now been released. 3 Kenyans are still being held, 2 in Arusha and 1 in Dar es Salaam police stations. However, there are 2 unresolved cases. 1, a Kenyan by the name John Ogutu was shot dead on 29th October at around 7 p.m. in Goba Center, Ubungo District in Dar es Salaam. He was a teacher at Sky School's High Rabson. His body has not been traced to date. The list of those affected above are in a comprehensive statement which you will be able to see. Kenya expanded its diplomatic footprint with our new consulates in Guangzhou, China, and Jeddah in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which were operationalized on 1st August 2025 and November 3rd, 2025, respectively. Yesterday, the cabinet chaired by His Excellency President William Ruto endorsed the establishment of an embassy of the Republic of Kenya to the Vatican City, home to the Holy See and the seat of the Roman Catholic Church, to strengthen diplomatic engagement with the Holy See and advance Kenya's global, moral, and development diplomacy. The move will boost cooperation with Catholic development agencies that run more than 7,700 schools and 500 health facilities in Kenya, supporting the bottom-up economic transformation agenda through expanded partnerships in education, healthcare, and social welfare. Kenya has a Catholic population of approximately 17 million citizens. Cabinet further approved the establishment of new embassies in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Hanoi in Vietnam. Kenya and Ethiopia continue to work together through enhanced cooperation and information sharing to address the anticipated cross-border threats in an effort to confront shared threats and maintain peace and stability in the region. On Somalia, Somalia continues to face persistent insecurity driven by Al-Shabaab's resilience, federal member state tensions, and limited physical support for the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia, awesome. Emerging cooperation between Al-Shabaab and Yemen's Houthis continues to pose a widening transnational threat along the Red Sea corridor. The political friction between Mogadishu, Puntland, and Jubaland also continues to undermine stabilization efforts ahead of elections. Kenya will continue to play an active mediation role, engaging national leaders, federal member states, and clan elders to bridge political divides, build trust, and address underlying grievances. Haiti. On the issue of Haiti, Kenya takes pride in the stability efforts in the country. Through the spirit of international solidarity, the Kenya-led mission of 800 Kenyan officers continues to make progress that has resulted in the reopening of schools, health facilities in areas controlled by the mission. This is progress for the Haitian people, and we will continue to lend support as the mission transforms into a gang suppression force, GCF, with a UN-led mandate. The support to Haiti is part of Kenya's contribution to international peace and security positions, and positions Kenya as an exporter of peace. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has been involved in over 43, almost 50 peacekeeping missions globally, whether in Africa, whether in parts of Europe and other areas, or in Asia. Kenya has been there. So the mission in Haiti was not an experiment. It's out of experience. And we now hope that as normality returns, we shall be able to assist or have contributed to the well-being of the people of Haiti. The peace process in the DRC. Kenya has and will continue to play a constructive and impartial role and reiterates its full support for ongoing regional efforts to pacify Eastern DRC under the African Union mediators, as well as the ongoing international efforts in Doha and Washington. Kenya has consistently supported peace and stability in the Democratic Republic of Congo, notably through the Nairobi Peace Process, a comprehensive regional initiative launched under the auspices of the East African Community. More recently, President William Ruto, in his capacity as the chair of the EAC, has actively been involved in facilitating the joint EAC South African Development Community SADC initiative. Remember, it's now one merged process under the African Union. The situation in Sudan remains dire, and the country risks being fragmented. Kenya calls on both sides of the divide to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and a return to the negotiating table, because only dialogue can resolve the conflict. Kenya also supports regional efforts led by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, the IGAD, and the African Union, which recently appointed President Museveni as the mediator for the Sudan conflict, as well as international efforts by the Quad, comprising the United States of America, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and the ongoing work by Ramtane Lamara, the United Nations Secretary General's personal envoy to Sudan. Kenya will continue to stand ready to contribute in any way towards the realization of peace in Sudan. People tend to forget that here in Nairobi, President Ruto had direct communication with both Burhan and Hemeti. he did not favor any side. But for some reason, there's always a deliberate effort to distort the facts. Kenya stands for one Sudan and a peaceful Sudan. The situation in South Sudan. Kenya remains seized of the situation in South Sudan and is exploring several options for jumpstarting talks in the country with a view to achieving a sustainable peace. IGAD, the African Union, and the United Nations have warned of potential collapse of the revitalized agreement for resolution of conflict in South Sudan. Agreement, if corrective measures are not urgently taken. Implementation of this peace agreement remains slow, and political mistrust, security violations, and delayed unification of forces, dialogue mechanisms, including the Tumaini Initiative, remain frozen.